we were discussing some of the key points here within unit 2. Okay, so there are so many keywords that is mentioned here, and that's what we have seen. We have seen what is decision tree, utility theory, okay, and what is uncertainty, risk under decision making, all that. And we have also seen what is game theory, and today we will see what is linear programming. How do we do that using graphical method, and we'll also see something on sensitivity analysis, and how do we understand that, and so on and so forth. Okay, so quickly, okay, so we have initially started discussing about decision tree and utility theory, and why it is needed, and what are the steps involved in it, and how do we approach a decision in case of certainty and uncertainty conditions. And we have also seen this same thing using an example, and we said how do we construct a decision table, and how do we make judgments based on some initial assessments, favorable conditions and unfavorable conditions, and so on and so forth. Okay, and we have also discussed the types of decisions, and we said what is maxi-max and maxi-min, and then other criteria of decision making under uncertainty time. Okay, and we gave one example as well for each of this category to quickly understand how this can be applied in real-time problem. Okay, and then we discussed about decision tree, where we said here we are putting the inferences in the form of tabular form, and if you convert them into graphical representations, how do you construct that in a sequential manner? Okay, and what is this point and node, and what happens in each stages that needs to be discussed that we were discussing. And then we also said that we have to define certain things before we start with the with constructing decision tree diagram. We said define the problem, we should know what are the steps involved, and what are the iterations, and then what are the possible ways in which we can take the decisions, okay, and how much cost will be involved in each possibilities. Okay, all that we need to know, and then decision tree is constructed. Okay, and we saw with an example, case 1, case 2, we do nothing. Yeah, and then with the same thing we added some value diagram. Diagrammatically we can be able to draw this, but we can also try to add value as well in each cases to understand the same. Yeah. And also after that we also discussed a little bit about what is utility theory, and we emphasized that not every time monetary benefit is taken as the criteria for decision making. There are other aspects like social cost benefit, or from environmental point of view, or from other socially relevant aspect. This decision can be made. Okay, so these things come under utility theory. And then we also discussed about game theory, where the major idea, or the crux of game theory, that what we should understand is the decision is not of individuals or individual company or individual manufacturer. It is a collective decision. Okay, so one decision that is taken by X manufacturer will have implications on others, and vice versa. Okay, so that's game theory, and we saw what is player, what are rules, and how it has got an impact on overall outcome. Okay, I think with that we stopped, and then there's today we'll discuss little more about linear programming, and how this can be used for decision making or for constructing coming out with ideal solutions. Okay, so linear programming is a mathematical programming used to find out the best optimal solution to a problem that requires a decision or set of decisions about how best to use a set of limited resources to achieve a state of achieve a state goal of objectives. So this is also actually whatever we are seeing now and what we have seen before as well. These are tools for assisting decision making. Okay, so these are the tools, kind of a decision support tool. We can call it decision support tool as well. And one such tool is linear programming. So how this can be used to arrive at a optimal solution. There are 2-3 keywords that you can see here. One is, this is a mathematical model. Okay, so what to say, it has a strong mathematical base for coming out with an optimal solution. To find out, okay, is used to find the best or optimal solution. Okay, so this is the second one. Okay, so there are so many possibilities of achieving the same result. Okay, but what is the best result and what is the optimal result, that we should know. Okay, and how do we know that? Based on different factors. For example, let's say we have to reach a place called R. Okay, and we have modes. Okay, we have bicycle, we have two-wheeler, or we have car, or we have public transport, and so on and so forth. And all medium can be used to achieve a destination called R. Okay, but what is best and what is optimal, it depends on other factors. Let's say cost, or let's say time. Okay, or other parameters that we can put forth. Okay, so here again linear programming will be used. Okay, it will be useful in arriving at a optimal solution using this tool. Okay, what are the steps involved in defining linear programming? Conversion of stated problems into mathematical models that abstracts all the essential elements of the problem. So like I was explaining here, our problem is reaching a place, starting from a point A and reaching out to place R. Okay, so that's the problem. And then we have alternates like whether to go with bike, or whether to go with bicycle, or whether to go with public transport or four-wheeler, something like that, right? And all these things needs to be converted in the form of mathematical equations. Okay, and then that means all this qualitative information needs to be converted in the form of numbers. Okay, through linear programming. Okay, through some mathematical models. Okay, so that's the first step that we need to do when we have to construct linear programming. We will see this with example. Okay, how do we construct this? How do we translate a problem into a simple equation? Okay, linear equation. Then the second step, exploration of different solutions to the problem. Like I was saying, we have 3 or 4 modes, 3 or 4 alternates through which I can reach a destination called D. Okay, so we should know what happens in each of these alternates. Okay, and then find out the best or optimal route for reaching this place. Okay, third one, finding out the most suitable and optimal solution from the alternates. Okay, so even in the second case, okay, this is like more kind of option. Okay, it is not a solution, or it is not a decision, but it is kind of a alternates. Okay, you can use root 1, you can use root 2, you can use root 3, you can use root 4. Okay, but finally we have to make a decision as well. Okay, let us go with root 3, but how do we make it? What are the assumptions and why we are making root 3 as the solution? Okay, so all this put together is what linear programming helps in defining or achieving the decision. Okay, where is it used? Linear programming is used to obtain optimal solutions to problem that involves restrictions or limitations such as material, budget, labor, machine. If we have constraints, okay, like here we said we will start from position A and reach position R, okay, and we have certain worked out alternates, right? So based on the constraints, maybe in the form, let's say time is a constraint, okay, safety is a constraint, okay, money is a constraint. So like this, we should know for each of the problem where if there are restrictions and limitations, and those restrictions and limitations will help in appropriately construct the linear programming model, and then it will help in decision making. Okay, so primarily this is applied where for example in material, okay, is or if there is a kind of a monetary, okay, restrictions or limitations that we have, and how do we, for example, the same thing can be understood from here as well. Okay, if in this case budget is the issue, and we should know how do we select the best route by taking budget as a criteria. Okay, for example, let's say or any other material or comfort or something like that. So these things needs to be defined when we talk about linear programming. Okay, so how do we convert this into mathematical equation? Okay, if you can remember these three things. One is we should convert the problems into a simple linear equation. Okay, and we have studied this in +1 +2, I guess. It's very very two-dimensional conversion of problem statements into linear equation. Okay, that's the first thing that we need to do, and then we have to find out alternates, and then finally we have to make a decision based on the criteria. Okay, so for example, let's say x1, x2, x3 and xn are decision variables. Z is objective function of linear equation. Z means, in the sense, this is the decision. Okay, so kindly remember this keyword when you hear about objective function. What we should know is this is the crux. Okay, Z is objective function. Objective function, that means this is actually the decision. Okay, this is actually the decision that we are looking for. So Z is objective function or a linear function. Requirements is let's say a maximization of Z. Okay, what is the maximum profit that we can get? What is the ideal solution that Z can be offered? Yeah, so that is what we are aiming for. So Z is equal to C1 C multiplied by the decision variables. Okay, what is C1, C2, Cn is all constants. Okay, so we will see that with example how this works. Okay, so there are two variables here. Okay, one is the constant variable and other one is the decision variable. So if using this, we have to construct a linear equation. Okay, so theoretically this is how it is. Okay, if you put this in the form of some problem statement, I think this will be much clearer for all of us. Okay, so let us understand that same thing through an example. Okay, there is one company which manufactures tables and chairs. Okay, and this is the cost and time spent for making tables or chairs. And the idea is to find out what is the objective function, what is the maximum profit that we can achieve, okay, using these constraints and these restrictions. Okay, so how do we understand this profit contribution? If, for example, let's say if you make tables, okay, 7,000 we get, and if you make chair, 5,000 we get. And how much time it gets involved? Carpentry work requires 3 hours for making a table, and for chair we need 4 hours. Okay, and painting, this requires 2 hours, tables require 2 hours, whereas chair requires 1 hour of painting work. And total available work is we have 2,400 hours for carpentry work and 1,000 hours for carpentry work. Okay, sorry, painting work. And and also there are certain other limitations, like the condition is we should not make more than 450 chairs, okay, and make at least 100 tables. Okay, so the this is the problem, and we have a maximum of 2,400 hours and 1,000 hours for painting. Okay, so if this is the problem and these are the constraints that is given to us, how do we construct a linear programming by a graphical method? What we are seeing is linear programming by graphical method. Okay, so constraints, let us put this in the form of these tables and constraints in the form of equation. Okay, so what is the first one? We have 2,400 hours of carpentry time available. Okay, and the equation is in this case 3 hours of table, okay, plus 4 hours of chair. Okay, 3 hours of table and 4 hours of chair, okay, in less than this is one equation, okay, where the first carpentry hour is taken into consideration. Second one, we have 1,000 hours. Okay, within this 1,000 hours, what we need is how do we convert this? Okay, 2 hours of table and 1 hour of chair less than or equal to 1,000 hours of available time for making painting. So in carpentry work, okay, so the this constraint, okay, 3 hours of table making, okay, plus, okay, 4 hours of chair making should be done within 2,400 hours. Okay, so this is one equation that we have got. Second equation we have constructed, we can in a similar way, we have 2 hours of time available for painting tables, and we have 1 hour of painting time for chair, and totally we have should be less than 1,000 hours. Okay, so this is how we convert this into a simple linear equation. Okay, and then there are certain other constraints. Okay, what was the constraint here? We said make less than 450 chairs and make more than 100 tables. Okay, so chair should not be less than 450 chairs. We should not produce or manufacture less than 450 chairs, and we should manufacture minimum of 100 tables. Okay, so and of course, okay. These are actually, there's one more constraint that we need to understand is non-negativity. We cannot, tables cannot be less than 0, chairs cannot be less than 0. That means we have to make progress, okay. It cannot be less than 0, okay. I hope it is clear. It cannot be less than 0 in the sense the number will definitely be more than 1. It will not be negative, okay. So this is one more thing that we should keep in mind when we construct this table, okay. So finally, if you put all this together, okay, so we have if we add this together, okay, we have 5t plus sorry, not this one, yeah. How do we arrive at this z, what do we call, we use objective function, okay. How do we arrive at the objective function is what we are aiming for, okay. So now what is this objective function? And we said z is what we have to achieve, and what is that we have to achieve here? In this case, it is a monetary benefit that we get out of it. So if we make one chair, we get 7,000 K, okay. And if we make one table, we make 7,000 K, and if we make chair, we get 5,000 per chair, okay. So what we are aiming is, how do we maximize this Z? How do we make more chairs and table so that the profit is higher, okay. And with the constraint, the first constraint is we have 2,400 hours of carpentry hours, okay, where at this rate we can construct this, and we have totally 1,000 hours of for painting, and with this equation we this can be understood. And we also said we should make minimum 450 chairs, sorry, maximum 450 chairs, not less than that. We have to make minimum of 100 tables, okay. And we also said all the values should be higher than 1. These are non-negative numbers, okay. So at least probably one table should be made, one chair should be made. It is not a negative number, okay. So using these constraints, converting this problem into numbers, we construct a graphical output of what we have defined. What we have the problem what we have defined is converted into a graphical representation, okay, of the equation that we have arrived. Okay, the first one is we said 3t, okay, 3t and 4 chairs, 3 tables and 4 chairs, less than we have less than 2,400 hours. Okay, so how do we convert this into graphics? How do we convert this in the form of diagrams? Is we assume that this is the maximum that we can achieve, okay. 3 times of table plus 4 times of chair is equal to, we have 2,400 hours, okay. And we have seen this in, I think, solving linear equations. We assume 0 for one of the elements, and then we arrive at C, or we put 0 in the place of chairs, and then we arrive what is the value for T, okay. These are called intercepts, right? So when T becomes 0, C is how much? 2,400 divided by 4, we get 600. Similarly, when C becomes 0, okay, 4 times 0 is 0, so 3t is equal to 2,400, t is equal to 2,400 divided by 3, okay. So we get a value for t. These are the intercepts for t and c for this equation can be achieved. Okay, so I hope you are getting it. So let me put it in a simple way again. 4c is equal to 2400. In the first case, we put 0 in the place of c. Okay, c is equal to 0. Then we have 2400. Yeah, this is 0. 3t is equal to 2400. Yeah, and the t is equal to 2400 divided by 3. So you get 800 in the for table intercept for table. And similarly, 3t plus 4c is equal to 2400. In this case, we put 3 in the place of t, we put 0 plus 4c is equal to 2400, and 4c is equal to 2400, and c is equal to 2400 divided by 4. Yeah, so we get 600 for it. The intercept for this equation is this. Okay, now how do we construct this? This is what we this has to be converted into diagrams. Okay, so how do we put that? We have a table in x-axis and we have chair in the y-axis. Okay, and what is the intercept that we have got? And the intercept that we have got is 600 chairs. Okay, we mark 600. This is up to us. Okay, we can have 100 divisions in the form of hundreds, or 50s, or ones and thousands, depending on the unit that we are using. Okay, here in this case, it is absolute number and it is a small number. So let us assume that this is 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 and 600 units. Similarly, in the x-axis, we can divide this into hundreds. Okay, what are the intercepts that we have got? The intercept that we have got is 600 chairs. We mark 600 in the y-axis, and 800 in the 800 table, 800 intercept for the table on the x-axis. Okay, and we connect these two intercepts, and we mark this as one region. For first equation, what equation? Where 3t plus 4c is equal to 2400 hours. Okay, for first equation for carpentry work, this is the feasible region that we have got. Okay, so this is for first equation. This is how we can convert this into identify feasible area for equation 1. And anything outside this line, okay, anything outside this line will be infeasible for equation 1. So for example, that means we can do a maximum of 700 800 tables and 600 chairs given this time. Okay, so this is first equation. Now we should convert the second equation into diagram. Second equation says 2t plus 1c is equal to 1000. What is 2t and 2c? 1c you can see here. This is painting hours, okay, and chair hours required for painting a chair. Okay, so if you put that into equation, 2t plus 1c is equal to 1000. And similarly, we put 0 in place of t, and the c value is 1000. And if you put c 0, t value is 500. Okay, so I hope you know how to get this. I have explained in the last equation. Okay, so how do we have to plot this information now? Again, here for chair, okay, the time that we can use, the value for C is 1000. Okay, so 1000 hours we can spend on chair, or we can spend a maximum of 500 hours in defining or in painting tables. Okay, so the second line is marked here. Okay, so if you see this properly, in the first case, this is the triangle that we got. Okay, now this is feasible area only from the perspective of carpentry work. Okay, now we have a constraint. What is the constraint? We also have to look at the painting work. Okay, so if you put these if you superimpose this on this triangle, okay, and we get an intercept of a C 1000 and an intercept of 500 for tables, and you can see that by default now this region has become what? This region has become non-feasible. Okay, if you see in the initial case, the entire region seems to be feasible. Now just by adding the second category, okay, where we have added the painting hours into picture. Now if we see only this, we can say that okay, we can make 800 tables and 400 chairs. But if you add the timing involved for painting, I think based on this linear equation, it says that maximum of 500 tables only can be made, okay, and 600 chairs still can be achieved using this. Okay, so this is the second step that we have taken. Now the third constraint that we have is, we said maximum chair line. Okay, here see, here we had a constraint that we can't go more than this. Okay, only maximum of 500 tables can be made. However, if you see this diagram, I think we can make 700 chairs also, 800 chairs also, right, as per this diagram. However, we have a third constraint which said no, you cannot make more than 450 chairs. So a line has been drawn here which is okay, this is the 450 line chair, a maximum number of chairs that can be made from here. Okay, and minimum number of table is 100. Again, one line has been drawn here. Okay, this is 100 line. Okay, so in the and 450 is from the below. Okay, so that means this in the first case we said probably we can make 600 chairs and 800 tables. Okay, but if you add painting constraint into diagram, we said we can make 500 tables and 600 chairs. But the constraint is we don't need 600 chairs, we have only 450 chairs to be made. Okay, so we added a constraint line called 450 to reduce this feasible region. Okay, and then we also said minimum of 100 tables to be made. So this region is cut off. That means these are non-feasible region because we need minimum of 100 tables. So now this is actually the feasible region for through diagram. This is how this is what we have achieved. Okay, now what are these key values and how do we understand this? Okay, so if you, the same thing has been made in a bigger way, we can find out what is the C value, okay, what is the T value that we can achieve. Okay, what is the T value wherever there is an intercept. Okay, what is the C value that we can get, what is the T value that we can get, or using this we can say that this is the optimal point, okay, where maximum benefit can be achieved. Okay, so in this case we can make a maximum of 320 tables and 360 chairs. Okay, so only using this linear equation, the problem can be converted into a simple linear equations, and then by clearly defining what are the constraints and what are the assumptions that we should make. Okay, we have to convert this into simple graphical representation of the equations. Okay, and what is the ultimate aim? The ultimate aim is to find out what is the optimal or what is the best solution that we can get, what is the maximum profit that we can get out of this exercise. Okay, so anything within this region, feasible region, these are feasible. Okay, when we do this exercise, when we do this exercise of manufacturing tables and chair, this is a feasible region, and what is the maximum benefit that we get is what we can aim for. Yeah, so this is how we use linear equation, where we convert we try to convert this qualitative numbers in the form of graphics. Okay, that graphics is not graphics, I would say. The problem is converted into mathematical equation, and that equation is converted in the form of graphics. Graphical, this is actually called graphical representation of linear programming. Okay, graphical linear programming exercise. Okay, so if you see from the beginning, initially we saw it's a table, and then we saw how this can be converted into a simple diagram, and then we saw then the third one I would directly link is this, where we can convert this problem into equations, simple mathematical equations, and then that can be used in for making decisions. Okay, so key things that you should remember is some of the keywords like objective functions. Objective functions are the final I would say final, not a final, the aim or the profit. It can be profit, or it can be the decision. Okay, Z is a decision. What is the maximum, or that is the ideal or optimal point that we can achieve from this exercise. Okay, so this is about linear programming, and then there are certain keywords attached with yes.
Sir, in the previous problem, why didn't we apply that carpentry constant also? Only painting constant we applied in that problem.
I think you meant for the chairs, you need to, there is a restriction in the case of chairs.
Yes.
Chair number is also constrained, right, sir? So why didn't we consider that while drawing the feasible area in the graph?
Which we have not considered.
Actually, there was the number of hours for carpentry also, that we can give certain number of hours for carpentry. The problem.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Fine. The other part is not. Okay. Oh, fine. You we have taken maximum of. Okay. You are asking.
We have taken here painting constraint line.
Yes.
Why didn't we took that carpentry constraint line also? Because it was also specified that some 2,400 hours are.
This is the first line. See, actually, it is a progressive diagram. Sorry?
So my doubt and his doubt is entirely different. He's talking about the painting and carpentry time.
Okay.
I was talking about the number of chairs and tables we could make. So we considered the minimum number of tables to be built, but in the graph we didn't consider the maximum number of chairs we could consider.
No, actually, okay, let me answer one by one. See, the problem is, let us go back here. Make no more than 400 chairs. So that means we don't want chairs more than 450, okay, and make at least 100 tables. So anything less than 100 is not feasible. That's why we have put here, if you see here, we said this is 100 line, okay, so we need minimum of 100 tables, and we said even it is feasible to create more chairs. If you can see, this gray line is a feasible area, okay, we can make in fact 500 chairs, 600 chairs also, but we don't want to make more than 450 chairs. Why? Because this is what we want actually. These are constraints. We don't want to make more than this. Yeah, as far as the hours in the painting is concerned, it is actually taken into consideration. I'll tell you how. Okay, first one, let's say here this is a feasible region for making tables and chair. Okay, and this is the total feasible region for making the chairs and tables. Okay, as per this, we if we construct this using this linear equation, we get an intercept of 600 for chairs and intercept of 800 for tables. Okay, so that means for first equation, for this equation, I think it is already here. Okay, for this equation, it says we can make a maximum of 800 tables and 600 chairs, and all this gray area that you see inside is feasible. Okay, second constraint itself is painting. We have taken painting into consideration here. What is the painting constraint? We have for an intercept of 1000 and intercept of 500. Okay, how did we get that? I hope you are following. We said 2 hours for table, 1 hours for chair is less than or equal to 1000 hours. Okay, so we have this equation. Second, okay, let us assume this is step 1, where we have taken only carpentry related work and then we have drawn this. Second one, we said the constraint line 2, where we said 2t, 2 hours of painting hours for table and 1 hour of for chair, okay, is equal to 1000, and we arrived at what is t value. T value is 1000. Okay, when we put 0 here, we get a t value of 500. When we put 0 here, we get a c value of 1000. So for chair, okay, this is red line is there. Actually, I think I should discard this, I guess. 1 second, I will just erase this. Yeah, this is actually, this line is carpentry linear equation line. This line, red line that you see, is painting line. Okay, so if you draw this, okay, with an intercept of 1000 for chair and with an intercept of 500 for table, this is the line that we get. Actually, if you see the second line, if you exclude this chair line, what we should have got is this line, okay, where we can hatch it. Okay, we have, yeah, you are getting it now. Now this portion is excluded because we don't want actually this, actually, right? This is beyond the feasible region. Even this is beyond feasible region by taking only painting into consideration. Okay, painting hours into consideration. Second step. Third step, we said no, even yes, these are also feasible region. If you see, if you superimpose two constraints, one is carpentry time and painting time, this is also feasible region. However, we have another constraint. We said minimum 100 tables should be made. So any line that falls here is also not feasible for us. So this is also excluded. And if you see here, we can make chairs up to here, up to 500, 600. But we have a constraint, third constraint, this is the third step, which says no, don't make more than 450 chairs. So we put a line and then we say that no, this is the maximum that we need to construct. Yeah. So let me explain it again in a simple manner. There are three steps involved. This is the first line that we drew. This is on carpentry line. Okay, using that equation, we got an intercept of 600 and 800, and then we drew this line. The second line was of painting line. Okay, where we got an intercept of 500 and 400. Okay, so second line. Third constraint line, we said not more than 450 chairs. So 450 chairs, we have drawn a line. Similarly, we said minimum of 100 tables. So we have drawn a line in the 100 region, and whatever area that falls within this intersection is called feasible region, and the maximum profit can be achieved within this region only. Okay, within this region, this is why it's called feasible region, and maximum profit or optimal solution lies within this region by taking all the three constraints into picture: carpentry, painting work, number of chairs and tables to be made. Yeah, so this is how it is. I hope it is clear now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, then fine.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, how we will finalize the values of the optimal point by looking at the graph?
Yeah, there are 2-3 things. One, this is actually supposed to be a linear equation. Okay, so we have to draw parallel lines. Okay, parallel line intersecting the optimal point here. Okay, so or we should work out a number of iterations where, for example, if we have our main aim is to increase this number. Okay, what is the maximum that we can get out of it? So in this case, for example, let's say here there are 2-3 things that we have put here. One, if the for 7,000 is the amount that we get for making a table, and 5,000 is the amount that we get for making a chair. So how do you maximize this? Let's say, for example, let's say if we put 400 5 into 400 chairs plus 7 into 300 chairs. Okay, and we find out what is the value here. If it is within this region, then this is feasible, and if it is outside and if it is beyond this number of chairs to be produced or number of tables to be produced, then it is outside the outside this scope. Okay, to directly answer your question, how do you get this optimal number? It's by iterations only. It is by iterations. We can assume if you make 250 tables, which is within acceptable one. If we make 440 chairs, which is also acceptable one. And if you make this equation and then and if that value falls within this feasible region, then we can take it. Yeah. Now we have a software also, okay, to calculate this in a simpler manner. in fact, Excel can also be used for generating this exercise. Now, since I'm explaining through manual graphical method, okay, so we can use the intercepts. The intercepts are the key ones to find out what is the maximum benefit that we can arrive at, and it's up to the decision maker. Okay, so here in this case it is simple case. We have certain constraints. Okay, we have put don't make more than this, make minimum of 100 tables, something like this. Okay, so based on the decision makers priority, optimal solutions are arrived.
Sir, optimal point will give us the maximum profit, right?
Maximum profit, yes.
So then we'll have to like do hit and trial with the table and chair values to get the maximum profit.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's iterations. We have to generate iterations and then find out if the value is within this, what is the maximum benefit that we can get. Yes.
So, sir, manually this would be a like little tedious task.
Yes, I agree. That's why we have tool. We have a tool. But actually, what we need to know is, of course, these are we have sophisticated tools for all this exercise. Nobody is going to do manually. But theoretically, if we know that okay, this is how the concept works, maybe we don't even. I don't know, I have to check. We will be able to draw this manually, okay, but these iterations maybe we may need 100 iterations to arrive at what is the optimal solution, but if you use tools, it will give in no time. It will give in no time.
Sir, is there any way that we can find the like two variables by using the two equations we have, like 2400 and 1000?
Yeah.
Is there any way that we can use that two linear equations to find the two variables?
Two variables in the sense I did not get.
So chair and that table, if we consider that two variables,
yeah,
we have two linear equations of painting and carpentry.
Yes.
Can we like find out the optimal values from that linear equations?
That's what this is the optimal line. See, for example, let us say for carpentry work, this is the optimal one. This is what you can do, feasible. Actually, all three constraints should be put together, and within this region we should find out what is the optimal one. Okay. Are you getting it? See, I'll tell you one simple example. Let's say we construct this. Okay. Let me erase this so that we can discuss here. See, even if you are not using let's say tool, okay, so this is all graphics and it is very simple number only. Let us divide this in very in subdivisions also. Let's say this is 50 line, 150 line, 250 line, 350 line. Okay, this is 450 line. Okay, and this is 500 line, this is 500 line. Okay, how did we get this? It's all from this step. Okay, maximum line is 450. I think this should be incorrect. This is incorrect. This is maximum 450 line. It should not be more than this. This representation is wrong actually. Okay, this should be 450 line. This line is 450 line because we should not be more than 450 line. Okay, and let us assume these are subdivided as well. Okay, 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, 350, 400. You take this as 450. Okay, this representation is wrong. Similarly, if we divide this as well, 50, 150, 250, 350, 450. Okay. Now, even using diagram as well, what we need to do, we need to only draw wherever the extreme points. Okay, wherever the edge. How did we get this edge? Is also from, you can understand from this diagram as well. When we superimpose this line, carpentry line of 600, carpentry line of for table 800, we got this line, right? That's extreme line. Okay. The second line, the second intersecting line is using this painting linear equation, right? We said we got 1000 for chair and 500 for table, and if you draw this line, there is one intersecting point. Okay, that seems to be the edge. That seems to be the optimal line. Okay, touching or beyond this, anything beyond this line is non-feasible. Okay, this is what we are trying to find out. Here in this case, being very simple one, what we need to do is we need to just draw horizontal line and find out what is the what is the number of tables that we can make using this. Okay, this I think this needs to be adjusted actually. Okay, this numbering needs to be adjusted. Otherwise, what we need to do is we just need to draw horizontal line and vertical line connecting this to intersecting point. Okay, so roughly if you see, we can make 320 tables. Okay, so this is a number, so we can make roughly around 320 tables. Okay, and we can roughly make in the form of 350. Okay, 350 wherever you get a horizontal line. Okay, I think in this case it says 360 is the line where this vertical line intersects. So that is the maximum point or optimal point where we can achieve. In fact, using this graphics also we can find out. Yeah, this labeling is slightly incorrect.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so or for example, let us say let us also ask some other questions so that we are clear in the concept. What is the intercept for this point? What is the intercept for this point? Okay, let us assume okay, this is 500. 500 is not feasible. No? Actually, we said 450 is the highest line. So let us assume this is 450. Okay, and we should know the straight line. If you draw a straight line, it can be T can be, let us assume this is 200. T can be 200. Chair can be 450. Yeah, so like this. But we have to find out what is the optimal one. So where we can get maximum benefit out of this. Yeah. So if you put 700 into 2, 500 into 450. Yeah. So we should check how much we get, and if it is maximum, of course it will not be maximum. Where we what is the maximum profit that we get is what we are looking for. Yeah, and if we can correctly plot this, yeah, I think here I'm 100% sure this is slightly up and down. If you make it, this should be 450 line, because this is the same line. This is the same line. It should be okay. This should have been 450. The labeling is wrong. Okay, so using this also we will be able to find out this.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, this is Pallav. Sir, optimal point, the values we have got, T is equal to 320 and C is equal to 360.
Yeah.
That we can directly get by solving the two equations.
But we are showing it in a graphical. This is there are 2-3 linear programming method. One linear programming by simplex method. I think it is there in your title as well. There are 3 things that there are there. One is called linear programming by graphical method, simplex method, dual simplex method. Okay, what we are looking now, or what we have seen now, is graphical method. Okay, that's why we are trying to solve this program through graphical means. Of course, yes, it's the same as solving through numbers as well, like you said.
Okay.
Okay, I think we can take a break for 5-10 minutes. Yeah, maybe 10-20 we can continue. I have some more slides only. I will discuss about what is sensitivity analysis, duality, and also on transportation. We'll take another half an hour and then we can stop with that. Yeah, then we'll see how do we prepare for mid-semester exam. All right, I'll pause it here. Continue this. Once we know, or once we have learnt about some decision making tools and decision support tool, there are a few keywords that we should also know. One is on sensitivity analysis and duality. What is sensitivity analysis and what is duality? What is the concept of duality? That we will try to see. Okay, first keyword. Okay, but the first keyword that is mentioned is on sensitivity analysis. Let's go there. Yeah, linear programming shall determine how much to increase in overall production of capacity for profit. However, the result may change if our assumptions are slightly wrong. These are kind of questions that will be addressed through sensitivity analysis. Okay, so for example, let's say when we said we will go from place 1 to place R, and we said there are 4 ways of going it. Okay, and we said, okay, let us say that this is route 2, and route 2 is ideal for going to place R based on the constraints that we have. Okay, even though we have arrived at a optimal solution, okay, which is route 2 or route 3 based on the constraints that we have. Okay, this decision may or may not be 100% right. Okay, because of various other factors that is involved, that we have not considered. Okay, let us assume we said that based on the time and based on the money that we have, I have to take cycle. Okay, cycle as a route to arrive at place R. Okay, then suddenly there was heavy rain. Okay, pouring rain, and the road is undulated or flooded, something like that. Okay, but this this factor, this uncertain factor is not accounted in this equation, right? So we just said, okay, based on the time, based on the money that I have, I think I can take an alternate cycling as a option. However, when I started this project, when I started moving from place to the place of origin to my destination, the unaccounted aspect came into picture, which is, let us assume that again some rain, heavy rain has fallen and the streets are flooded. Okay, now the time taken for reaching this place may be higher, or I may have to drop this idea of cycling to that destination. Okay, because this is a lot of other risk involved in it. Okay, so those other factors that is not accounted in decision making is discussed in the sensitivity analysis, or sensitivity of the decision is subject to various other factors. Okay, so those all other factors that will have an implications on this decision making is discussed in the sensitivity analysis. Okay, for example, is my optimal solution sensitive to small change in one of the original problem coefficient? Okay, I've taken from the text and I put it as it is. For example, here we said the optimal solution is you make 320 tables and 360 chairs, and you will get maximum benefit. Okay, let us assume that if I slightly change, let's say if the working hour is 8 hours, but on one day someone had worked only for 6 hours. Okay, so will this small change will have an implications on the outcome or not? Or let's say there's some unaccounted risk or situation. Let's say there was some power cut. We don't have we could not run the machines for cutting or for painting something. Okay, and we have lost around 4 hours in the process. Okay, so whether my decision is subject to this kind of a small changes, okay, how sensitive is my decision? Okay, so is what is a sensitivity analysis? Okay, so sensitivity analysis is a study of how variations in the output of mathematical model can be apportioned qualitatively or quantitatively to different source of variations in the input model. Okay, it is a technique for a systematically changing the parameters in the model to determine effective effects, changes in the effects. This is also called sometimes what if analysis. So here this is what we say that the maximum that we can get out of the maximum benefit that we can get out of this problem. Okay, but however this achieving this may have other may be influenced by other factors. Okay, like I was saying, somebody did not work efficiently, or we had other problems like power cut, or let's say we ran out of paint and we waited for another 6 hours for getting paints. Okay, so any uncertainty that is not counted, okay, will have an implications on this decision. So what if that's why this is also called what if analysis, or sensitivity analysis, also sometimes called as what if analysis. Okay, what if somebody did not come, or instead of somebody working for 8 hours, somebody has put 4 hours. Does our decision or does our equation factors that small deviation in overall, we can say deviation, or we can say the flexibility. Okay, slight is my equation flexible to these changes, to accommodate these changes, is what is sensitivity analysis. Also called as uncertainty analysis. Okay, because we don't know, like I said, we have decided to take that route by cycling, but maybe on that day the weather was bad and we had pouring rain. Okay, and it was uncertain decision. Okay, we don't know whether we will reach to that place or not. Okay, so there are keywords that they use in the sensitivity analysis. Okay, what if analysis and uncertainty analysis also. Sensitivity analysis may be used to determine the input variables that contribute the most to an output behavior, and non-influential inputs or to ascertain some interaction effects within the model. Here this will help in determining the input variables that contributes the most to a output behavior. Okay, for example, let's say here let us assume the lot of time is consumed for making chair, okay, than table. Let us assume like that. Okay, so we know for certain that if you spend little less time in chair table, okay, we will be able to still able to achieve the required optimal value. Okay, so like this, does our equation takes into some flexibility, whether our equations, our decision takes care of this uncertainty, or takes care of these factors that will have an implications on the design, or the output, okay, the expected design output or decision output. Okay, so how sensitive are our decision, whether it is very sensitive. For example, let's say even if you leave out 1 hour, our profit may come down by 1% or 2%. Is that sensitive? Or even if we, let us say, even if we don't work for 4 hours, still we will be able to manage the profit that we aim for. Okay, so do we have that leverage or not? Okay, those kind of analysis, those kind of things needs to be discussed qualitatively and quantitatively to be integrated in the design models. So how do you do that? There are certain things which can be used to do this. In sensitivity analysis, you change the input parameter to see how model results response to these changes. Thus, sensitivity analysis resembles a laboratory research where you can control input and measure output. Okay, so this is kind of a trial or error, or this is kind of a hypothesis, you can say. Okay, we assume that, okay, if this happens, will my output will be same, or there will be difference. If I do this, if I take cycle, will there be some issue, or do I have to increase timing, or something like that. Okay, so by changing the input parameters, we try to see whether we will get the required output or desired output or not. Okay, and how do we do it? This is in line with other statistical tools like correlations and regressions. Okay, and also ANOVA for qualitative analysis. Okay, what is correlation regression? We have we have not done that exercise. We have not discussed that topic. Maybe after this, this is the last keyword that is there in this subject. So in this unit, then we will take up correlation regression. Okay, so if sensitivity analysis can be understood or through correlation and regression model. For example, let's say we have an variable I and variable z. Okay, and these are, let us assume these are highly correlated. Okay, let's say it is 0.8 or 0.9 R value, the table. Okay, these table are highly correlated, and it has an R value of, let's say 0.8 or 9. Okay, so that means 90% chance, there is a 90% chance that if this increases, it has got an increase or decreased effect on the other parameter. So these are highly correlated. So like this, sensitivity analysis also is done. If I change this, this will have got an implications on the next parameter. Next parameter, or the final parameter, what we are looking for is the profit. Okay, so in this case, if I change, if I take a break of 4 hours, will my profit come down or not? Is this 4 hours of work is related with profit or not? Okay, so how much leverage I can take, so that I can, even if I take break of 4 hours, how do I compensate? Okay, so what is the correlation between the input parameter and the expected results that we get? So correlation and regression will help in understanding the sensitivity of the input parameter versus the versus the desired results. Okay, so these are quantitative methods of doing it. ANOVA is a qualitative measure. We will also see what is this, how do we do it, and what are the methods of constructing questions, all that. Okay, ANOVA as one tool. We will see in the, I think, third or fourth chapter there is one. We will discuss this. Yeah. Okay, and there are two things pertaining to if you go theoretically, there are two things that will have an implication on the decision directly from the sensitivity analysis. One is called local sensitivity and other one is called global sensitivity. Local sensitivity is derivative based on numerical values. The term local indicates that derivatives are taken in a single point. This method is apt for simple cost function but not feasible for a complex method like models with discontinuity. Discontinuity do not always have derivatives. Okay, let us also understand the other terminology and then we will discuss what is this. Local sensitivity analysis is one at a time. Okay, this is also called OAT technique that analyzes the impact of one parameter on cost function at a time, keeping the other parameters into constants. Okay, so this is called local sensitivity analysis. Local sensitivity analysis is I think we will read this and then come back for discussion. Global sensitivity analysis is a second approach to sensitivity analysis, often implemented using the Monte Carlo technique. What is that? I think there is one. This keyword is also mentioned in your textbook. Okay, it is actually a called feedback analysis. Monte Carlo method or the experiment or broad class of computational algorithm that rely on repeated random sampling to obtain numerical results. Okay, let us go back here. We said sensitivity is how our decision is subject to small variations, small changes in the input parameter, whether the profit or the output will be impacted or not. Okay, so this can be understood in two ways. Okay, one is called local sensitivity, the other one is called global sensitivity. Okay, what is local sensitivity analysis? For example, let us say we said we have to move from place A to place R. Okay, and we said there are certain things that we have in hand. Okay, so first one is time. Okay, the second one is cost. Okay, third one is, let's say, risk involved. Okay, and one more we can put let's say comfort. Okay, so time is one parameter that helps in defining this. Cost is another parameter that helps in defining this. Then risk involved is another parameter that helps in defining this, and how comfort my travel will be can be another parameter that helps in defining this. Okay, now in local sensitivity analysis, what it does is it takes one parameter at a time. That's why it is called OAT. Okay, one at a time, one parameter at a time. So when this decision is assessed for time, okay, as a constant, as a parameter, cost, risk and comfort is kept constant. It's not influential when we talk about time. Or when we talk about cost, I want to determine my solution through cost. This time, risk involved and comfort is kept constant. So only one parameter is assessed at a time, and it says if I take time as one parameter, how the result will have an implication. how it will impact the result. Okay, so one parameter at a time is considered in local sensitivity analysis. Okay, so the decision or the input parameter is modified one parameter at a time. Okay, quite opposite to the local sensitivity analysis. In the global sensitivity analysis, where all these things are linked. Okay, any change in one parameter will also have an implication on the other parameter. So that's why it is actually called feedback mechanism. So this is not a linear decision, it is actually interconnected decision. Okay, so there will be interconnection between all the parameters, time, cost, risk, all this put together or equally assessed, or equally they will have a say on decision, final decision. Okay, so this word is also this global sensitivity and is also synonymous, or this concept can be understood through Monte Carlo technique or the method, or it is kind of an algorithm that helps in assessing the sensitivity of the decision that we take. Okay, so sometimes this is also called a feedback or loop system. You will also come across a word called loop system. Okay, loop, feedback, or Monte Carlo technique or Monte Carlo method can be understood using this. So what is the major difference between the global and the local sensitivity analysis? In this case, one parameter at a time is analyzed and then decisions are made. Here the entire parameter is linked using an algorithm. Okay, it's all connected, and then it has been decisions are been made. How do you do that? There are certain tools like very powerful tools like system dynamics. System dynamics can be used for analyzing this global sensitivity analysis. System dynamic, if you read, I think sometime we will also see what is system dynamics and how does it work. Okay, system dynamics is one of the most powerful tool, mathematical modeling tool that we have, where it exactly works on feedback or loop system. Okay, so one decision is not dependent on one parameter. Okay, it is actually dependent on a number of parameters. So how do you link all these parameters and still able to analyze in a mathematical model is through this technique. Okay, through this tool called system dynamics we can use. There are so many tools. I'm just giving you one example of system dynamics. Yeah, so that is the concept of sensitivity. Okay, and sensitivity analysis is used to indicate the sensitivity of the simulation to uncertainties in the input model. Okay, so this if we know this decision, or if we know this, we can comment on how strong our decisions are, how our change in decision will have, how change in any one of the parameters will have implications on the overall design output or overall decision output. Okay, they help in decision making, of course, in fact, even with taking risk or with uncertainty, we'll be able to comment on how it works. Yeah, just 1 second. Sorry. Sensitivity analysis is a method for predicting the outcome of decision if situation turns out to be different compared to key predictions. Okay, so why and where this can be used is all there. It helps in assessing the risk involved in the strategy. It helps in identifying how dependent the output is on a particular value. In fact, this is also one of the good indicator For example, let's say we have one input and we have one output, okay, and these are influenced by, let's say, some 6 parameters or 4 parameters, okay, and all these things are interconnected, okay, and we don't know which is the most influential parameter in determining this, okay. So in that case as well, sensitivity analysis will help in identifying which parameter and how it will have an implications on that. In fact, when we do this in the next chapters, we have one topic called AHP, okay, analytical hierarchy process, where we will use this technique to identify which is the most influential parameter and how by varying this parameter will have an implications on the design output, okay. So sensitivity analysis is again will help in identifying those parameters that will have greater impact on the decision output. Helps in taking informed and appropriate decisions. Yeah, this is the best part of this aspect. Is these are actually simulations, algorithms or mathematical models. So these are not qualitative approach, this is a quantitative approach. Yeah, and aids in searching of errors in the model if in case, okay. So if we, let's say, if we are modifying the if you are checking the output results from these 4 parameters, and we'll be able to figure out if we made some wrong assumptions and so on and so forth in this, okay. And in the same thing, we are discussing this from the linear programming or linear equations perspective, okay. There's another or decision making perspective. There is another keyword that is often discussed is duality, okay. Every linear program has another linear program associated with it. It's called duality, okay. What is duality? The dual complements the original linear program, the primal. What is that? We will see, okay. The theory of duality provides many insight into what happens behind the scene, okay. So I think I have not put more slides into this. How do we understand this is, when I said we will move from a place called 1 to place R, we said this is the optimal route, okay. Cycling is an optimal route, okay. So but there's another route through bike, there's another route through 4-wheeler, and there was another route through walking, and there's another to walk through another route through let's say public vehicles, okay, public transport, fine. So even though this is the primal, or this is called primal, or the primary route that we have, primary decisions that we have, there are other ways, okay. These are called duality. There are other ways in which the same result can be achieved, okay. So this is, if you read this now with this understanding, it says the theory of duality provides many insight into what is happening behind the scene, okay, and the dual complements the original linear program, okay, and every linear program has another linear program associated with it. It's called duality. So okay, there's an alternate way of reaching this place as well, okay, that we have not we have excluded, but that means that there is another way as well, okay, based on certain criteria and assumptions and restrictions. We have chosen this as an ideal decision, okay. However, there is another way, another ways, or another alternates, or another what is say solution, okay. Maybe not the optimal solution, it is also a solution possible. It's an alternate, Okay, so here I would like to bring another concept, another thing that you should keep in mind when we say for create alternate designs. Okay, I hope for architects this is a familiar word. We will say that okay, you have made one idea. What are the alternate ideas? Kindly show us at least 2-3 alternates. See, this can be understood using this concept, this example as well. These alternates are nothing but the duality. Okay, this is also functional. This is also applicable. We can carry out decision like this alternate A, alternate 1 as well. We can do this by alternate 2 as well. We can do this through alternate 3 as well. But however, this is optimal solution. Okay, so if you have to go back and understand to this, although this is the optimal solution, okay, where we have to make 320 and 360 chairs, okay, the other way is we can decrease this further and increase this further as well, provided we are not what do you say, we are not breaking this rules. Okay, for example, in this case it was 450 chairs and 100 tables, so either we can increase this or decrease this, but still we will be able to achieve the maximum profit. Okay, that means there are other alternates as well to achieve, that is also possible. Okay, so those things are called duality. Okay, the alternate decision, alternate route for decision is called duality. Okay, whatever we have taken ideal, the optimal solution is called primal. Okay, these are the keywords that is there in the text, so that we can remember this. Okay, and there's one concept called integer programming. Okay, where we are not going in detail. I'm just putting it in very simple manner so that we can understand what is this. Integer programming deals with solving linear models in which some or all variables are restricted to integers, where we can say that the word itself is there, integer, numbers is restricted to integers. Integer programming problems are usually much more difficult to solve than linear programming. Okay, and we use sophisticated tools for generating results using this. There are 3 types of integer programming models. In mixed integer programming model, only some of the variables are restricted to integers. In pure integer programming, all the variables are restricted to integers. In binary integer programming or 0 and 1 integer programming, all the variables are binary, restricted to 0 and 1. Okay, so actually this is in relation to linear programming that we have discussed. The variables can be converted or can be understood in the form of only numericals. Okay, only values, not numericals, only integer values. Okay, so programmings are used. Okay, we have some programming integer. Probably I'll see if sometime if possible. There's one person here who had done some financial calculations for one of the municipalities using integer programming. I will see if I can invite him for some time to discuss on how it is done, what is this done. Okay, it is in line with linear programming. Only thing is it's all done through integers. Okay, last concept. Okay, quickly, I think we are discussing too many things in one class. That is actually not good, but I think with this we'll stop. I'll just quickly run through this. You can read it. This is not a very there's nothing difficult there is nothing complex theories that is discussed here. Very simple idea of what is transportation, what is transshipment, and what is assignment model. Okay, so transportation and transshipment and assignment problems are special type of linear programming models. Okay, so there are three things we have seen. This is the third thing that we have seen so far: linear programming, integer programming, and then this as well. Okay, all this fits into the concept of linear programming itself. They are a part of larger classes of linear programming problems known as network flow programs. Network flow problems. Actually, I can give you an example through GIS as well, Geographic Information System. There is a tool, right? I don't know whether you are aware of it or not. This is one of the most powerful tools that we have for analyzing data in spatial context. Okay, for example, let's say we have manufacturing unit, and we have, let's say, some processing unit, and then we have, let's say, a sale unit. Okay, and there is a strong correlation, spatial correlation between these two places. Okay, manufacturing, processing, and then let's say distributing. Okay, so how do we understand this balance, and where is it placed spatially? Okay, what is the resource and time constraints in placing this infrastructure? Okay, all this can be understood through a concept called network analysis. Okay, that's what is mentioned here. That network analysis or network programming works on the basis of linear programming. Okay, so that helps in that's the in the foreground we see only tools. Okay, we just say that okay, this is place of origin and place of destination. Okay, and then we just run what do you call it? Line of sight analysis, and then we say that okay, this is more influential, this is not that much influential, something like that. Okay, so that's what we see in the foreground. In the background, it is actually a mathematical model, and in fact that is a linear programming model that works behind this interface. Okay, what is transportation model? A transportation models are formulated to solve where product is transported from a number of sources to a number of destination at a minimal cost, minimal possible cost. This is what we try to do actually, right? Each sources is able to supply a fixed number of units of product, and each destination has fixed demand for product. Okay, in transportation problem, items are allocated from source to destination at a minimum cost. This is what I think in the last slide as well. The linear programming model of a transport problem has constraints of supply at each source and demand and destination. And what is the how do we understand this through linear programming? Is there's a constraint called supply and demand, right? Supply may we can also there will be, let's say, there may be a restriction on how much you can manufacture. Okay, what is the maximum that you can manufacture? Similarly, okay, demand, there will be slight, okay, how much you will get, what will be the what is expected in a store, whether it is high, demand is high, or it is less as moderate. Okay, it's all interconnected. So this is in transportation. A transportation model can be understood in this way: a balanced transportation model in which supply equals to demand, or in unbalanced transportation, supply is lesser than demand or supply is more than demand. Okay, and there is a this can be put it in a tabular format, okay, to understand this problem, or usually done in the form of a tabulation. Okay, how much is the supply, what is the manufacturing capacity, how much is the supply, and how much is the demand. Okay, then the transshipment model, there is a second word that is there. Transshipment model is an extension of transportation model in which intermediate transshipment points are added between the source and destination. An example of transshipment point distribution center is warehouses located in the plant. Okay, in this case we said we have manufacturing unit, processing unit, and then we have direct distribution. Here we say that okay, let us store it somewhere before it is actually sent to the store, or before it is actually sent to final destination. So there is another node that comes into picture, okay, where distribution centers, or where it is the product or the things are stored before it's actually sent to final destination. In transshipment problem, items may be transported from source through shipment point to destination direct, okay, from source to another, from transshipment point to another. There are so many permutations and combinations can be worked out based on the infrastructure that we create. Major thing is the transshipment model includes intermediate points between source and destination. That's it. Okay, we have a manufacturing plant and we have the consumers. In between there are so many points, nodes, where processing unit, storage, all that will come into picture in transshipment model. Assignment model, the linear programming formulation of assignment model is similar to formulation of transportation model, except that all supply values of each sources equal 1 and the demand equals in the destination. Here how do we understand this is in the manufacturing unit, okay, we say that we produce 100 product. In destination also the demand is 100. Okay, whatever being so that means that the option of storing is eliminated here. Okay, so whatever is produced is actually directly consumed. For example, let's say milk. Okay, milk can be understood using this model, because we can't store it for a long time. Now processed milk can be that also not for a long time, right? So whatever is produced, it should be consumed on the same day or same time. Okay, so this is the third concept that is mentioned along with the transportation, transshipment, and assignment model. Assignment model is a special form of linear programming model that is similar to transportation model. The difference, however, is that the supply at each source and the demand at I think it's the same thing. I put it again. Okay, so this is theoretical understanding of what is transportation and how it is impacting the decision, and what is transshipment and what is assignment model. Okay, so these keywords are there in your syllabus, and that's why I'm just trying to discuss all this from whatever keyword that is discussed, what I put up in your syllabus. All right, I think with this I'll stop my discussion.